Hi there. I wanted to take a few minutes and go over the syllabus with you just briefly. We won't look at every single thing, but there are some things I wanted to make sure we all look at together. So, here is the syllabus for the course. I got here by going on Blackboard and going to syllabus and clicking this link, and that brings me here. So, here we are. Alright, so my information here, my name is Brandy Springstube. You can call me Brandy. That's probably easiest. My preferred method of contact generally is email, or in this case, you can also use Google Chat for contacting me. If you need to call and leave a message, the number is 234-2333. I have to admit that I don't always remember every single day to check my voicemail, but I do check it a few times a week at best. I'm in the office on campus at 400 College Park Plaza on Mondays and Wednesdays. I teach English 101 from 7:45 until 11, and then usually I head over to the office for a little bit after that, so I'm mostly there after 11 until sometimes 2 or 3. I could be there later sometimes if needed to be, except on Mondays I can't stay much later than 3 o'clock for different reasons. But those are the times that I'm pretty much always on campus. There are some Fridays where I'm around campus for meetings and could meet with someone if you needed to meet with me in person. And you're always welcome to meet with me in person. If you're interested in that, we can set up a time. Alright, so we know that this is the study of African American literature from the mid-20th century to the present. We're going to be reading a variety of selections from the textbook, and then we'll be looking at some things, some small readings, as well as some videos and maybe audio recordings that relate to our content as well. Let's see, I'll let you read all of this stuff if you haven't already. The required textbook is the Wiley Blackwell Anthology of African American Literature, Volume 2, 1920 to the present. One thing to keep in mind is that our course is from the mid-century, so we actually will read. You've already noticed probably the reading assignment for this week is having you read some of the introduction stuff and then one piece from that very first unit in the textbook, but we are going to be starting with Section 2, Part 2, Unit 2. I don't remember how they call it in the book, but that's where we will be starting with our more intense study. And another thing to note about the textbook, if you haven't realized already, it is a very thick book and it has a lot of readings in it. We cannot possibly read all of that in one semester and discuss it. I mean, we could read it all, but we would not be able to have any discussion. So I have chosen selections that I think will give us a good taste of the variety of literature for each of the time periods. For anything outside of the text that I ask you to read or listen to or view, I'll provide links for those right there in the weekly agendas. You'll need regular internet access. I'm sure you already know that since you signed up for an online class, but I just have to say that. And then you'll want to be able to access Blackboard. You need to be able to access your GRCC email. That might be annoying for some of you who are students at other institutions, but GRCC requires that all communication go through GRCC email and Blackboard and other GRCC controlled systems. You'll need to be able to access Google Drive because most of the documents that I share with you will be in Google. I mean, you don't have to sign into your Google, but if you do want to save them or make your own copy so you can make your own notes on them or anything, you'll need to have Google Drive, which you can use, and you should use your GRCC login to use Google Drive for this class. And then I may switch to Zoom, but right now I'm planning on our office hours, our live discussions, whether it's just chatting text discussions or video audio discussions. Those will be on Google Chat or Google Meet, which again you have access to through your GRCC email accounts. I posted in the virtual office, I added a thread where I asked you to post in your preferred or available times for live office hours. That way I can try to schedule office hours throughout the semester that will reach the largest number of students. It's going to be hard to schedule a time where every single person is available, but I will do my best to scatter them throughout to make them available for as many people as possible. If this is your first online class, you may find yourself a little overwhelmed at first because you get a lot of information thrown at you online that you're used to hearing and receiving in a different way in a face-to-face class. But you can help yourself by, first of all, reviewing the weekly schedule early on in the week or even ahead of time so that you know what's coming up and you can keep track of the different assignment deadlines. I try to keep to a very a fluid but a regular routine, such that, for example, all of your reading assignments from the text are already on all of the weekly agendas. You can count on the quote question connection assignment, which is kind of like your reading journal in a way. You can count on that always being due by the end of the day on Thursday. And then after I've had a chance to review those on Friday and Saturday, I'll open up a discussion forum for you to discuss the things that we have read for that week. So what will happen is you will be discussing the readings you've already done and working on new readings kind of at the same time. And that might seem a little awkward, but it's a little bit easier, I think, than saying, okay, everyone has to have all the reading done by Tuesday or Wednesday so we can spend the rest of the time discussing and then things for that week, and then start the new week with new reading and new discussion and have things kind of feel really crammed in. I think this way gives us a little more time and space for our readings and discussions to happen, and might happen a little more naturally. Alright, so back to the syllabus though. Attendance for an online class means that you are logging into Blackboard on a regular basis, that you are completing the assignments by the assigned due dates or deadlines, and that you are participating in as many office hour sessions as you can and as needed, that you communicate with your professor through email or other means regularly if needed. And if you're going to be away for a week or unavailable for a week or for a few days, that you communicate with the professor and make arrangements for anything you might miss in that time. Right. If you don't post anything for a 14-day period, I have to report that to the college as non-attendance, and they will take a few steps to find out what's going on, and you could be okay, or they might drop you from the course. So just keep those things in mind. Okay, so online courses, they're a little bit different than your in-class courses. You kind of have to be more in charge of your own learning. So I've given you a few tips here. First of all, follow the weekly agenda. I try to have as much stuff on the agenda by the beginning of the week as possible, although there are times where I might have to add something a little bit later. Maybe I'm trying to make a video and it's not uploading to YouTube very quickly, because sometimes that happens. that might mean that I post it on Tuesday rather than on Sunday. It just depends on some scheduling things with that and how quickly YouTube will cooperate. Just little things like that. So I try to have everything up by Sunday or at least by Monday morning so that you have, plenty of time to work out how you're going to do things for the week. So for that, you want to adhere to the deadlines closely. And there may be a time when something comes up and you have to submit something late. The sooner we talk about that, the better. But as much as possible, you need to stick with the deadlines. And one thing to note about the discussion board, when you participate in the discussions, participating sooner rather than later is best. If everyone waits until the last minute to try to post something, no discussion is going to take place. There will not be an actual conversation. So you need to get in the habit of posting your main post early and then checking back and responding to your classmates' posts and their responses to you throughout the week rather than trying to cram all of that into one day. Also, you want to consider your workspace. You need to treat the time you're working on class material as real class time, just like an in-person class. So you need to make sure you have a space set aside where you're not going to be interrupted or distracted by friends or roommates or your family or your pets. A place where you can just, focus in and do your work. I know that might be hard for some of you who have very busy lives with full-time jobs and families plus your classes, but you know that it's best if you can work on things without distractions. So try to set up that time and space for yourself. Right. So as far as assignments and things go, the biggest thing you have to do each week is do the readings. I've tried to keep the readings really manageable. There is one week where you do have a very heavy reading, comparatively heavy reading schedule, and that is when we're reading the excerpts from Invisible Man. I believe that's week 5. So if you know that it's going to be hard for you to read, I think I have 80 or 90 pages that week, which really is by far the most you have in any week at all. If you know that that's going to be kind of hard for you, you might want to start now just reading a little bit at a time. And so if you're adding an extra 5 or so pages a week to what you're already doing for class, that's not as bad as if you try to go from like 25 pages to, 4 times that much in one, from one week to the next. I didn't want to break up Invisible Man. I just really didn't want to do that. And so I did, give you a heavy week that week. But I tried to make it a little lighter for you after that with the readings and with the assignments that you have. So just really keep up with the readings so that you can participate in the discussions and so that you can do the other assignments that you need to do. We don't really have as many assignments this time, I don't think, as when I taught 271 in the summer. I kind of learned then that some of the things I was asking for were a little kind of overkill with some things, so I pared it back. We're getting the same things that I wanted, from that class. I'll be getting from this class, just in maybe a more streamlined fashion. Right, so in addition to the reading, you have discussion board participation. I'll explain what I want for the discussion board in a separate video. So you can earn up to 50 points per week for the discussion board. We have 3 projects that we'll be working on. The first project, the Media Connections presentation, is due in week 8. So we have basically the first 2 units of study will be kind of going into that project. I'll be making a video for each of these projects, by the way. The second and third projects are things that you will submit at the very end of the semester. So the thematic anthology project, I will introduce to you not this week, but probably in the next couple of weeks. I will introduce that to you once we kind of get our routine going and we get a handle on what we're doing with this class. The annotated bibliography is something that you will work on throughout the semester. So pretty much every week you'll be adding at least one entry to your annotated bibliography. Again, I will make a separate video explaining that, and there is a document that will be available to you once I have that video recorded, which should be pretty soon. They are taking a little while to upload today, so it may not be posted until tomorrow. We'll see. You'll also have your journal, which is your quotes, questions, connections that I'm asking you to do, and you'll do that almost every week. I do have 1, possibly 2 weeks scheduled in where I'm not going to have you do it, just because I think you've got enough going on with other things those weeks that we'll just take a break from the QQC and focus on those other things and then come back to it after that. And then office hours, participating in office hours via Google Chat or Meet is really a good way to kind of keep up with things. You can ask questions, you can listen to other people's questions, you can just lay eyes on your professor and make sure that she's still a real human being, sort of. You know, it's just a way to kind of keep you involved. And grading scale is a standard grading scale. I don't do anything weird with it, so that's pretty simple there. Late assignments, I grade work that's turned in on time. If you have to turn in work late, I'll probably get around to grading it, but to be honest, it goes at the bottom of the pile of things I have to do, and then I get to it when I get to it. And if you've turned it in, 2 days late, you can expect to, only have an 80% as the highest grade that you could possibly get on it if everything is perfect. And then if you, take more than a week to turn in your work, you're not going to get anything for it. Academic integrity, we take that very seriously at JRCC, so keep this statement in mind. When you submit work as your own, but that work in any way borrows ideas, organization, wording, or anything else from another source without appropriate acknowledgement of that source, you are guilty of plagiarism. Copying or resubmitting your own work from another assignment is self-plagiarism and is not acceptable. Unless an assignment has been given as collaborative work, all of the work you turn in must be your own. If the work is collaborative, the names of all participants must be on it. Alright, so I think it's a pretty self-explanatory statement, but if you do have any questions, please let me know. The biggest thing to keep in mind with this is that if you use material from another source, give proper credit to that source using MLA standards, the conventions of MLA, citing and documentation. And keep in mind also that stringing together a bunch of quotes, even with proper documentation, also counts as plagiarism because we need your ideas and not other people's. If you do happen to be guilty of plagiarism, you'll get an automatic 0 on the assignment. If you do it a second time, you will fail the course. Right, the technology statement applies more for in-class purposes, but it is required to be on the syllabus. Again, classroom etiquette. We are going to be interacting with a diverse group of people. We're going to have lots of different ideas that are coming together on our discussion board, and we need to be aware of the fact that we might find some ideas and questions and comments a bit challenging, intellectually, socially, spiritually, emotionally, whatever. By approaching these experiences and challenges with a spirit of shared inquiry, respect for the dignity and worth of all human beings, and maturity in conduct and attitude, we will all have the opportunity to learn from one another. Right? So embrace this opportunity to hear from people who aren't exactly like you. Okay, the Language Arts Lab is located in 501 Cook, and they're available to help you with any of the writing that you have to do for this class or any class. You can drop in there and meet with a tutor. They also have an online tutoring service, I believe. I still need to check and verify how that works now. It's changed, and I'm not sure what they're doing with that. I believe they're using Google Drive, and I think they're using Google Chat, but I will verify that. And if you have any need for IT support or Blackboard support, there's a link here for you to get some help with things you need help with. Of course, I've already mentioned this, but for GRCC requires you to use your GRCC email account for all communications at the college, email communications at the college. You can use your login for Blackboard should be the same as your login for your email, the login and password. If you need an accommodation for a disability, you have to contact Disability Support Services. You have to give them the documentation that they need, and they will discuss and create an accommodations agreement, which will then be made available to me, and I can make accommodations for you as needed and as appropriate. Without that documentation, I cannot make any accommodations for you. So if you know that you need some support in a way or accommodations in any way, please contact Disability Support Services sooner rather than later. You can find the Student Code of Conduct right here. Basically, you're not supposed to do anything that's illegal, that's mean-spirited, and harmful. So be nice and be good. Those are the things. Title IX reporting policy. If you or another student are the victim of any form of sexual misconduct or gender discrimination, GRCC can give you some help with that. You can report to the Title IX coordinator yourself, or if that's not something you're comfortable with, you can tell me about it, and then I'm obligated to report it. So keep that in mind if that's something that you or someone you know needs help with. The withdrawal process, you need to initiate a withdrawal. If you find out that like the class isn't working for you, you don't really want an online class, something comes up in your life that prevents you from finishing your classes this semester, if you just really don't like it, you're allowed to drop the class, but you have to initiate that. You can receive a W if you drop on or before March 28th. If you drop after that, I have to give you whatever grade you've earned at that point. And then if you don't drop at all, but you just stop participating, I also have to give you whatever grade you would earn at the end of the semester. So whatever you have, like if you have a B and you just stop participating, anything that would be due after that time that you just stop would go in the grade book as zeros, and then you would end up with whatever percentage comes out once all that's factored in. Right. Campus police you probably won't have a need for as an online student for this class, but in case you are on campus at any point for other classes or other activities, you can contact campus police if you need to by using the code 2 button on any campus phone or dialing 4911 from campus. If you're on a cell phone, you would need to do 234-4911. Okay. And I don't foresee any changes to the syllabus, but if I do need to change the syllabus, I will do that, and then I will let you know through a Blackboard announcement or GRCC email. So that's our basic syllabus overview, and really that's the basics of the class itself as far as how a lot of things are going to operate. I will talk to you more about the discussion board in a separate video. So if you have any questions about the syllabus or about the class, please let me know sooner rather than later. Thank you.